Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in this video I'll be starting like a one of three kind of series video talking about the landscape of wrestling, or more specifically WWE and AEW in 2025, and things that I think they could both do better going into the new year and throughout next year pretty much. And in this video we're going to talk about kind of more investment in the women's division, which is something I talk a lot about on my channel. But yeah, for me, both WWE and AEW both need to kind of have that more investment and kind of put their women's division in kind of a better place. And I want to go through kind of what they're doing wrong, where I feel like they could be doing better, and kind of everything in between. So I'm Leo, this is the Wrestling Retrospective, and let's talk about WWE and AEW's women's division. So to begin, I want to go with AEW, and I want to start with some positives, and that is that AEW do often rotate their women's division. They have different people challenging for their championships constantly. You know, recently we've seen Anna Jay go after Mariah May's World Championship. Willow Nightingale's challenged for both recently. Even Stephanie Vaquer at Forbidden Door was like a good change of pace for like the women's division, though controversial in the end. However, what the women's division is missing, in my opinion, is like feuds, and good feuds, and ones that can not only be a staple of Dynamite, but also, you know, make people want to watch pay-per-views. Like, you know, recently we had Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander at Full Gear. You know, that was a decent feud built over multiple weeks, whereas before we saw like Moné and Shida that kind of was a week or 2 weeks build, which is good because people are invested in the fact that Mercedes and Shida are two top women in the division. But you know, we kind of want more than just, oh, they're wrestling because, well, yeah, not just because. You know, we want a reason to get behind the feud and a reason to want to see the match even more. You know, for me, like, the last time the women's really did anything in the main event of Dynamite was July 10th. And the only other time before that was the 13th of July. Only twice this year have the women done anything in the main event of Dynamite, which is a massive shame. You know, we had stuff like Britt Baker's return, Mercedes Moné debut, Mariah versus Tony's feud could have main evented any part of Dynamite. I know the turn itself happened on Dynamite. That was the July 10th main event part, was when Mariah won the Owen Hart tournament and turned on Toni Storm, but everything else after that came in like the middle of the show or the start. But matches wise, like going even via cage match, which is something I use very often. I know that like it's not probably the most reliable source, but I like it, and it is very accurate as well. But only 4 women's matches make the top 100 highest rated matches of 2024, which I think is mad. I mean, of all time, of 8, like the whole of AEW, only 5 matches in the women's division make that top 100 list, of which like the highest one on that bid is Jamie Hayter versus Hikaru Shida from Holiday Bash, that got 29, which it's a great match, and it's a match I very much like. But you know, and I'm aware that the cage match is very fan-based ratings, but for me that kind of is a main reason why I use it, is because like I'd rather have multiple people and fans' opinions rather than like one person such as Dave Meltzer and stuff like that. But then, you know, we look at the list and only 5 matches. Is it because of match quality? Is it because of match investment? You know, you look at the types of wrestlers like Britt Baker, Chris Statlander, Mariah May, Toni Storm, Shida, Moné, Athena, Hayter, Willow, even Taya Valkyrie. You know, they can all like put banger matches on whenever they want to, and you know, they just need that kind of investment to like have good feuds to build to those great matches. And like even the past possibilities, the way they were using Jade Cargill was really good. I mean, arguably better than what WWE have done with her. They had Maki Ito in at one point, which I feel like she's a great storyteller as far as like matches goes. You know, we see the stuff she does in GCW and like all over Japan is really good. You know, even the possibilities, like if they brought in Stephanie Vaquer or kept Paige Van Zandt around, you know, those two, again, at least give the idea, at least with Paige Van Zandt, that they could do some really good storytelling. And it's just a case of those two didn't really work out, and Paige Van Zandt decided not to join AEW properly, and Stephanie Vaquer went to WWE. But, you know, there's plenty of opportunity to make great stories with these women. And, like, for me, it's very much a case of, like, AEW have the tools to make great feuds within their company. It's just that they choose not to, almost, or there's not the right person behind the scenes putting these things together. Even though like we know who like is booking, like, you know, helping the creative teams, it just doesn't make sense how they're not doing the stuff that they're doing for the men, for the women. You know, you see the likes of Hangman versus Kenny Omega, Hangman versus Swerve, and all that kind of stuff. You know they can do it. It's just a case of, why aren't they doing it with the women? I think the last time that the women really had a proper good feud that wasn't Mariah May and Toni Storm earlier this year was probably Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, when they were beating the shit out of each other in 2021, I believe it was, or 2020. Either way, like, you know, when they were having their massively long feud, and it worked because these two had great chemistry together. It felt like they had real life beef. Maybe they did, I'm not sure. And yeah, they kind of capitalized on that by making great stories in the ring and, you know, building up to feuds on pay-per-views. Like, you know, as I said, for me, is just to come there. For me, it comes down to the case of they have all the tools, as I've said. They just don't seem to want to use them, and it doesn't make any much sense to me why not. You know, people like Mercedes Moné, we know is a great storyteller because of her time in WWE. Chris Statlander, we know she can do it. A great feud with Willow earlier in the year. You know, Britt Baker, more than enough. Toni Storm, with her character work alone, shows that she can tell a great story. Mariah May is a great villain to have. Taya Valkyrie was a great champion in TNA/Impact when she was women's champion. So, like, you know, they have everything they need. They just need to put more investment into that division, in my opinion. Moving on to WWE, and unlike AEW, the women's division in WWE is kind of centered around a group of women, and they kind of, I assume, after a while, will like sub in and out people. But, you know, Raw at the minute have Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and maybe sometimes Lara Valkyria every so often. And SmackDown have Nia Jax, Stephanie Stratton, Candice LeRae, Bayley, Jade Cargill, and Bianca Belair. This works really well, actually. And like, as fans, we kind of know what we're getting when it comes to the feuds in WWE. Like, we know as soon as Jax is done with one person, naturally she moves on to this person. And that kind of, it's good to kind of know where we are as far as feuds go instead of kind of going in blind. However, for me, the big flaw is that this kind of style only has a certain shelf life and can sometimes, not all the time, but can become very tedious. So the kind of point I'm building to is the fact that, like, we need to build more women to get to that main event scene, so then they can kind of, you know, drop out people and then bring other people up again to be into that group of people for like a month or 2 or 3. And, you know, for me, like, you know, Jax, I think Nia Jax is like the main one, is the fact that she's already feuded against and beaten Naomi for the world title. She's beaten Bayley twice for the world title, and it kind of gets to a point where, like, we don't know who she's going to feud with next because there's no obvious contender. Like, the last 2 months on TV, Nia Jax has been concentrating more on brand supremacy type feuds with Liv Morgan, and now going into War Games where she's feuding with Team Ripley over on Team Morgan. So yeah, I have no idea. And as far as Liv Morgan goes, after Rhea Ripley, I have no idea what Liv Morgan does afterwards. Like, they have set up a match between her and Io Sky in the future, which I think will be a great match. But then, you know, if she beats Io, then where do we go? Does Io get a rematch, or do we, again, have to build somebody up again? And for me, you know, as far as building people up, they have plenty of options. You know, they've got Chelsea Green, Asuka upon return, Lyra Valkyria, Kiana James upon return. Lash Legend has been doing a lot of really good work recently on the main roster. I think a couple of women that people forget about, Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler, though are stuck in a mid group right now in Pure Fusion Collective, are very, very good in ring, especially Shayna Baszler, who arguably, like, has not recovered from WrestleMania 36 yet, which is ridiculous, especially under Triple H's reign. But all these women have really good qualities to become a serious main eventer in the future. And yeah, I think, like, even when you look down at NXT, like, their roster, as everyone says, is absolutely stacked. So knowing that pretty much all of them down there are going to eventually come up to the main roster is like a very exciting thing. You know, the likes of Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, Jada Parker, Lola Vice, all could very quickly and very easily fit into that kind of main roster, main event role. And, like, you know, we know kind of someday they'll probably all become faces of the company. And yeah, for me, what's good for WWE is that we know the future of the women's division is in such good hands compared to like we're not knowing where AEW is really going to be in the future of the women's division, because they put kind of so much investment in what they currently have, is that it feels like they're not really looking too far into the future, which is a massive shame. But I need to hold WWE to the same standard I held AEW to via fucking cage match and all that stuff. And so I did some looking up, and I think on Raw, I say I think because since I did my ranting out of this video, it has happened a lot more. But as of when I wrote this video, which was like a month or so ago, Raw had 4 main event parts of Raw had 4 main events with the women in it. Obviously, since then we've seen a lot more because of War Games and all that kind of stuff. I think it's probably gone up to about 6 or 7. And SmackDown, they also had 4 overall. This year, I think again they've done a little bit more. I know that Jax and Naomi for the Women's Championship recently main evented, so again that's gone up even more in number. So we're probably looking into double figures as far as women being in a main event spot of the weekly shows. But of course, this year we haven't seen any women's main event matches for either AEW or WWE, which is a massive shame in my opinion. As far as Top 100 2024, 16 matches including NXT. Got into the top 100 of the year for WWE that were women's matches. Overall, again, including NXT, overall top 100 for WWE, there is only 4 matches, but think about like the vast history of WWE. There wasn't always prime position for women in their company, you know, especially like the early 2000s backwards, where a lot of these matches in the top 100 tend to be. Whereas AEW have come into the scene kind of when women's wrestling is way more important now. But yeah, TV-wise, WWE is leaps and bounds above AEW as far as how they treat the women's division. But again, they still have their flaws. And, you know, though, like I think overall, like 16 or 17, maybe even up to 20 matches for both overall have had women in it, I still feel like I probably would say it's not enough still. And like, it is a case of there should be women's main event in pay-per-views at least once a year or twice a year when it comes to both companies, like just put together, you know, even if WWE do it twice or AEW do it once or WWE do it once, you know, that kind of thing. It just feels like there's plenty of opportunity for them. They just need to kind of, as I said, put that investment in and kind of, you know, show that they can put on great matches for the women and put on good feuds for the women for both of them, because, you know, they do it on the weekly shows. They just need to move that kind of bit onto pay-per-views and I don't know, just build better feuds that can kind of hold a pay-per-view to that standard. But I don't know, tell me what you think in the comments, like how you think both companies treat the women's division. Do you prefer AEW's way of constantly rotating who are challenging the women, or whether you prefer WWE's way of kind of having a group of women around for a bit and then maybe subbing in and out people? But yeah, said for the most part, I would say that WWE and NXT are so much better than AEW as far as the women's division go. But yeah, do sound off in the comments what you think about it. And yeah, give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And do sub to the channel. There's a lot of content coming up. There's another 2 landscape videos coming up within the next couple of days. There's a top 100 matches list on the channel. There's prediction reviews, all that good stuff for pay-per-views. And I'm doing my top 10 best pay-per-views of the year on Christmas Eve. So yeah, plenty of stuff coming on the channel. There's also the Patreon. You know, that's completely free to join. There's like 20 or 30 odd watch-alongs over there that I've been doing. So yeah, go check them out. It's completely free to join. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.